Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, could have easily turned into a dangerous cult leader, but deep down, he knew better. His friends and associates feared he might have been manipulated too much, but Elvis remained in control, always making his own decisions about his career and life. This was a man who understood the power of giving, a trait that stemmed from his own impoverished upbringing, where receiving was often a rare luxury. To those close to him, like Shepard, Elvis's friend and an executive at RCA, the label that launched Elvis's stardom, he was unique. Elvis was different from other rock stars. He was accessible like Sinatra, but on a more personal level. He paved the way for future rock stars, showing them how to balance stardom with a relatable, down-to-earth attitude. Working at RCA, Shepard witnessed firsthand the meticulous way Elvis was managed by the enigmatic Colonel Parker. Parker was not just Elvis's manager, he was a force to be reckoned with, known for his ruthless tactics in the business world. Everyone feared him, including Shepard, who lived in constant worry about pleasing Parker. The fear was real. One misstep could cost you your job. Yet, despite Parker's dominance, Shepard believed Elvis remained true to himself. Elvis was the boss of his own destiny, dictating to Parker what he wanted while letting the manager handle the business side. This arrangement allowed Elvis the freedom to focus on what he loved most: entertaining people. Generosity was a defining trait of Elvis's character, surprising even those closest to him. One Christmas, he surprised Shepard by calling him at midnight, insisting he come to Graceland. They headed to Dallas to pick up a new tour bus, showcasing Elvis's willingness to go above and beyond for his friends. His generosity extended to material gifts like diamond rings, but it was the joy of surprise that Elvis cherished most. Elvis's giving nature wasn't just about material things. He believed that true happiness came from giving, a lesson he learned from his mother, who taught him that giving was more blessed than receiving. This belief stayed with him, even as he became one of the wealthiest men in the entertainment industry. Despite his wealth, Elvis was always mindful of his roots. He understood that his ability to give was also his way of coping with the poverty of his past. This duality made him a complex figure, an entertainer who could both dazzle and humble those around him. Elvis's connection with his fans was unbreakable, a bond that lasted until the very end. They followed him through thick and thin, enduring the discomfort of his infamous canvas jumpsuits, seeing them not just as clothing but as part of his unique charm. This connection was akin to how President Obama drew crowds, but Elvis's appeal went deeper, touching the hearts of those who felt disenfranchised. Behind the glamour and the performances, Elvis faced challenges that tested his patience and temper. He demanded perfection from his band, and if a wrong note was played, the show could be halted. His temper wasn't just about music. It flared when those close to him, like the West Cousins and Dave Hebler, wrote a book without consulting him after being let go from his service. Despite these outbursts, there were moments of vulnerability. Elvis's naivety shone through in simple situations, like when he couldn't find a phone or his address in Los Angeles, leading to comical yet frustrating moments. Yet even in these moments, his core remained unchanged, loyal, generous, and deeply connected to those who stood by him. As the years went by, friends like Sonny West noticed changes in Elvis. The pressures of fame, combined with his own personal struggles, took their toll. Yet, even as he faced these internal battles, Elvis maintained his humanity, reminding those around him of the simple joys of life, like celebrating birthdays with homemade cakes, even when he himself ate an entire one. Elvis Presley was more than a star. He was a man of contradictions, a blend of grandeur and humility, whose legacy continues to resonate. His story is one of a king who never lost sight of his roots, a man who gave more than he took, and a performer who demanded excellence, not just from others, but from himself. Nancy Rooks was someone who truly cared for Elvis. She was his maid, and to him, she was more than just someone who cleaned his house. Every day, she took care of him, making his bed, bringing him fresh socks, and even ironing his favorite jumpsuits. She remembered small details, like bringing his toothbrush and preparing his favorite meals. Nancy saw Elvis not just as a boss, but as a person who needed looking after. When I met Nancy and her husband, a church minister, in her small home in Memphis, it was clear how much she adored Elvis. She spoke of him with warmth and respect, describing how she would clean and take care of him. It was evident she had a deep affection for the man who was once her employer. Her kindness towards Elvis stood in stark contrast to some other stories about him. Nancy recalled specific moments that showed Elvis's character. For instance, when his pants tore on stage, instead of getting upset, he asked her to fix them. She tried but failed, and that was okay. It was these small, human moments that painted a different picture of Elvis than the one often portrayed by others. Elvis's eating habits were another topic of discussion. Many people believed he had a strange food obsession, especially with peanut butter and banana sandwiches. However, Nancy Rooks and Sam Thompson, another close associate, clarified this myth. Nancy said Elvis only tried the peanut butter and banana sandwiches for a short while, based on a recipe from California. He didn't eat them all the time, contrary to popular belief. Elvis had a reputation for eating the same things repeatedly, like meatloaf. But Sam explained that Elvis had a big appetite and enjoyed variety, even if it seemed limited to others. Nancy confirmed this, saying she made him those sandwiches often because he loved them. Elvis even asked her to prepare soul food from his trip to California, showing his desire for familiar flavors. Despite this, there were concerns about his eating habits. His doctor, Dr. Nick, noted that Elvis did eat a lot, but it wasn't unusual given the number of people always around him. Elvis sometimes had a sweet tooth, like wanting a banana split after a concert. While this might have affected his performance, it was not a major issue, according to Dr. Nick. Elvis's health and workload were significant concerns. Dr. Nick, his doctor, had a straightforward conversation with the Colonel, Elvis's manager, about slowing down Elvis's schedule. The Colonel wanted Elvis to work less, arguing that 2 or 3 shows a day were too much, especially in Las Vegas. This led to a showdown, but they eventually agreed to reduce Elvis's performances to 1 a day for a few weeks in Vegas. This change helped reduce his nervousness. Despite the efforts to manage his workload, Elvis still felt the pressure. George Klein, another close friend, observed that Elvis was worried about performing perfectly. He felt he could handle everything but realized he couldn't. Elvis's desire to be perfect on stage was clear, but it took a toll on him. Dr. Nick's relationship with Elvis began in 1967. Initially, Elvis was sick from overworking, having ridden horses extensively. He needed an excuse to avoid traveling for a movie shoot. Dr. Nick wrote a letter to the producers, helping Elvis take a break. This was seen by Dr. Nick as the beginning of the end, marking a shift in Elvis's life. Despite being close to the mafia, Dr. Nick was not fully part of their inner circle. He often accompanied Elvis on trips, driving with him and sitting in the plane with him. However, he preferred not to be seen as just another member of Elvis's entourage. Dr. Nick had his own tastes, preferring actors like Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, but he grew to love Elvis's performances over time. Dr. Nick saw Elvis as lonely, despite being surrounded by people. Elvis loved human interaction and often called Dr. Nick when he was busy. The doctor provided intellectual stimulation for Elvis, who was always learning and educating himself. Travel was a highlight for Dr. Nick, even though it meant being part of Elvis's constant movement. The Colonel, Elvis's manager, saw Elvis as a commodity. He was pragmatic and focused on business. While he appreciated Elvis's talent, he treated him more like a product to be sold. This perspective shaped how Elvis was managed and perceived, influencing his lifestyle and work habits. Despite this, Elvis found value in the relationships he formed, like the one with Dr. Nick, who saw beyond the surface and connected with him on a deeper level. Elvis's story is complex, filled with moments of kindness and challenges. Through the eyes of those who knew him, like Nancy Rooks and Dr. Nick, we see a man who was loved and cared for, even as he struggled with the pressures of fame and the demands of his career. Elvis Presley, the famous singer, had a very strict routine when it came to food, partly because he wanted things done exactly how he liked. His maid, Nancy Rooks, took care of his meals and had to prepare food in a certain way, often cutting it into small pieces so Elvis wouldn't have to cut it himself. This was funny to Nancy because it showed how much Elvis wanted things to be easy for him. Elvis loved to eat classic American foods like meatloaf, baked potatoes, and beef, always in small bites. He also had snacks at odd times like pie and chocolate at night. Nancy made sure to have these ready for him. Despite the odd eating schedule, Nancy said Elvis was kind to her. He taught her to say thank you often and was always grateful. Nancy had a close relationship with Elvis but also saw him in a different light, like a distant uncle who didn't fully grow up. He was childlike in many ways but serious when it came to work. One topic they often discussed was women, especially the women in Elvis's life. Nancy heard arguments between Elvis and his then-girlfriend Ginger. Elvis had initially chosen Ginger over another woman, his sister's friend, but things didn't always go smoothly. Elvis wanted Ginger to stay at Graceland, his home, but she often went to California. This made Elvis upset because Memphis was his home. Ginger also had her own secrets, and Elvis even hired someone to follow her. Nancy found out she was seeing someone else, which caused tension between Elvis and Ginger. Despite the conflicts, Nancy saw a softer side of Elvis. He liked it when she was cheeky and would playfully argue with her. One time, when Nancy was late bringing food because Elvis's bodyguard got angry, Elvis got so upset that he ripped the phone off the wall. Yet, Elvis loved to sing and often did around the house, even singing duets with Nancy on the organ. Nancy didn't live at Graceland but had a home nearby. Elvis was very generous, giving her a car and even paying for her driving lessons because she couldn't drive at first. He was like a benefactor, always looking out for his staff, giving them gifts every fall. Nancy felt special when Elvis gave her a car, though she remained humble. Elvis also took care of other women who were part of his life, like Ginger and another girl named Rose. He would choose among them, which sometimes led to jealousy and arguments. Nancy saw Elvis's complex relationships and understood that beneath the fame and success, he was a man with many human feelings and flaws. In the end, Elvis Presley was a mix of a larger-than-life star and a man with simple desires and complicated relationships. His life was filled with music, love, and the challenges of fame, all watched over by people like Nancy who knew him intimately, both as a boss and as a person.